2. Twins look lifeless in game 1 versus the Royals. They lose 5-0 with Zebby on the mound. Breaking it all down next on the Locked On Twins postcast.
You are Locked On Twins postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Minnesota Twins postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. That's your team every day. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man, Sweet Lou Hennessey. Give him a follow on X, at Sweet Lou MN. And Lou, before we jump into all the action from tonight's game, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, game 1 versus Kansas City. Obviously, huge implications on the line. Zebby on the mound coming off that brutal outing last week. 2-0, KC, bottom 5. Zebby in a little trouble, but you can tell Rocco kind of wanted him to leave him out there, help him get out of the jam himself, basically. He ends up giving up a 2-out base hit. That scores 2 more, doubles the lead, makes it 4-0. And I got to tell you, for this Minnesota Twins team right now, Lou, a 4-run deficit, that feels like climbing Mount Everest right now. They only had 4 hits on the night, 4 runners left on base. Only one guy even made it to scoring position, hence why they were only 0 for 1 with runners in scoring position. Absolutely pathetic, man. 5-0 your final. Kind of frustrating. I mean, Lou, we know the Royals, they're a beatable team, losers of 7 of their last 8. Twins just kind of look flat tonight, out of gas, did they not?
Man, I'm sorry if I'm looking a little groggy. I just woke up from like a 2-hour and 16-minute nap watching this Twins offense tonight. They were talking about it on the radio broadcast near the end of the game. They were just saying, you know, this is a team that was supposed to come in hungry for a win, and what we saw was a team get eaten by another team that's just as hungry. So the Royals showed up to play tonight. They were taking extra bases, they were doing the extra things, and they were putting the ball in play at a much higher rate than the Twins, and that ended up being the difference tonight.
Yeah, we usually talk injuries in segment 2, as you know, but I'll just ask you now, any update on Byron Buxton? He was supposed to be back for game 1 here tonight. Tweaks the hip in St. Paul. What's the latest? What have you heard? Because, man, oh, man, do they need a spark in this lineup right now in the worst way.
Yeah, it just feels like everybody's looking around for that leader to kind of replace Byron. Like you said, they were expecting him to be back tonight. Really unfortunate with the hip. I think he would have been the spark that this lineup absolutely needed. For now, no huge update. I think they were going to give it some time to see how he responded with a few days rest. Maybe we get an update early next week about a plan moving forward, but it's just such an ominous and disappointing development for the season for sure.
Yeah, let's just look at the last handful of games here. No runs tonight. They beat Tampa in game 4 with 4 runs, so not exactly lighting the world on fire there, but you'll take the wins however you can get them. They averaged 3.3 runs the first 3 games versus Tampa. They beat the Blue Jays in game 3 with 4 runs again. They lose 15-0 to the Jays in game 2, and they lose 2-0 in game 1. And they lose to Atlanta in game 3 to get swept, by the way, by a score of 2-1. So I don't know what the stats are, but they got to be one of the, I'm just going to fling out a number, bottom 10 offenses in the league the last 10 games or so.
You got to think so. Just the way things are going, like you said, a lot of those wins just feel like just scraping by. And that's important too. Those wins are absolutely important, but we haven't seen kind of the offense that we saw in the first half that could put up 7, 8 runs a game on a few times a week basis, at least. And we really haven't seen that team for quite some time now.
Yeah, you think about it yesterday, too, without a 3-run shot from Ed Julian, of all people, who hadn't hit a homer since like April, if not May. Yeah, April, I want to say. So without that, they probably lose. They do lose. They do lose yesterday, too. Yeah. So it doesn't feel sustainable, man. I mean, we can talk about pitching all we want, but they got to get something going in this lineup. And it's not just one guy. One guy's not even going to do it. They need like 3 or 4 guys to start warming up right now in a hurry. That's what it feels like.
Exactly. You have it exactly right. And, like you said, it can't just be one or two guys, because they have had one or two guys that have been playing really well. They've had Matt Wallner and Trevor Larnach both swinging the bat really well. But like we said before, without Byron, without Carlos Correa, we have a group of players right now that are kind of looking around for somebody to step up. The natural guess would be someone like Royce Lewis, and he's just been a different player in the last few weeks, and we're kind of waiting for him to turn the corner and come back just in time, just before heading into the playoffs here, but it remains to be seen.
If I told you back on July 12th, we'd be sitting here on September 6th recording this and still have no clue when Carlos Correa was coming back, well, what would you have said? Because I know for a fact no one thought or even had the tiniest inkling he'd miss the entire second half of the season like he has thus far.
There was a point where he thought he was going to avoid the injured list entirely. It just kind of shows you how unpredictable plantar fasciitis is, and
brutal.
How cautious they're going to be, especially because this time it's on his other foot, which is attached to his surgically repaired ankle from a handful of years ago. If you remember when he was a free agent, a lot of the, was it the Giants and the Mets who kind of backed off of deals with him after reviewing some of the medicals, were because of that. I think it's his left ankle that he had a plate put in. So they're being extra cautious on that side. But yeah, if you would have told me back on, what was it, July 12th, the last time he played, that we wouldn't see him until, let's be honest, at this point, it's going to be mid to late September, if anything. That's I can't say that it wouldn't be floated around in the back of my head just with the history of the Minnesota Twins here, but I would be very disappointed to hear it for sure.
Where is the happy medium then when it comes to like, hey, we're fighting for our lives here. It's crunch time. We'll take a 80% Carlos Correa over nothing, versus like Carlos Correa just feels like he's a guy who he's got the certain bar, a certain standard he sets for himself. He will not suit up unless he knows he can go out there and play at that high level he has, and we have as fans have grown accustomed to. So where's that happy medium right now between Rocco and Correa? Like, how do you think those conversations are playing out behind the scenes, just knowing what you know about both of them, their personalities, their expectations, et cetera, et cetera?
Sure. I don't think it's so much of a Rocco decision. I think it's a lot of Carlos talking with the team decision makers, the front office. And I don't think this is going to be something that he's waiting for it to be healed so he can jump right back in at 100% capacity. And I think he probably knows that too. Unfortunately, where it could be is a pain tolerance issue, and that they're waiting for maybe that last homestand, those like last 6 or 7 games at home. He could shake the rust off as much as possible, even if he's not 100% before going into the playoffs, at least having a little bit of his feet underneath him, so to speak. But let's hope that can be the case, especially if they're going to be able, knock on wood, but there's not a ton of challengers beyond the Royals kind of gunning for that last wild card spot. So they have some time to kind of figure it out. But at the same time, you don't want to, it could be getting to a sense of urgency. You got to think with 3.5 weeks left of the season here. Yeah,
maybe it's not like a Rocco versus Correa thing, but if I am Rocco, I mean, I'm knocking on that trainer's room door every day and like, dude, you played through pain last year. We'll take you at 75%, right? We'll take whatever Carlos we can get. It's crunch time. You've already missed almost 2 months. 2 months, by the way. Let's go. Highest payroll on the team. You mentioned it at the top. This lineup is looking around for a leader, right? Somebody to put this team on their back. That sounds like a captain to me, right? Like, where's our money going on this? We already don't have a big payroll. Where's the money going that we do have? Maybe this is why the Pullheads don't spend a lot of money. Josh Donaldson, et cetera, et cetera. They always get burned. Why would they? I don't know why I flung out Josh Donaldson. That was the first name that came to mind.
Another big contract for sure. But they both really want Carlos to be out there. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. And I think they are. I don't know how you balance that. Like you said, I don't know how you really measure if he's at 75% versus 90% or anything like that. That's so difficult. But it's getting to be crunch time here. And I don't think they're a team that's really used to kind of giving those sort of updates of timelines like that, because we've seen what happens when they can't make those timelines for whatever reason, and it's just more disappointment. So it's gonna be kind of frustrating, I think, for a couple weeks to be in the dark. But let's just hope there is a plan going forward.
Yeah, certainly not black and white like I'm making it sound. Obviously, speaking through frustrations here, just knee-jerk reaction after a frustrating loss here. And again, just really a frustrating string of games, string of series where just the lineup has been so lackluster. Let's talk about Zebby Day on the mound. Got lit up on his last start, 2 innings, 9 runs. Not flawless today by any means, but definitely a lot better, right? 5 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned, 4 Ks, 1 walk, 89 pitches. Like I said on the top, got into some trouble in the 5th. He only had 2 earned runs at that point. It was a 2-0 game. You could tell Rocco wanted to kind of loosen the leash a little bit. He just doesn't have a ton of options at this point anymore either. And let him get out of there, kind of finish those 5 innings. Ends up giving that 2-out base hit. That scored 2, doubled the lead. All in all, though, I guess just what'd you think about him tonight? And if the season were to end at A2, what would be your quick snapshot? I know it's a small sample, but quick snapshot or assessment of his first tape up in the bigs. Like some ups, some downs, some goods, some bads, but obviously it's still early in the process, kind of big picture.
Yeah, no doubt that last start was absolutely a black eye on what has been I would say a pretty impressive debut besides that. Tonight's start, I think you put it kind of right on the line of thumbs up good, thumbs down bad, kind of right on the edge there. If he makes a couple pitches differently, he finishes with 5 innings pitched and 2 earned runs, like you said. Right. But besides that, if he gave up a couple more hits, he would have been down 6-0, 6 earned runs in 5 innings. So like I said, kind of right on the edge there, but that's what you expect from a rookie who, started the season at single A, so right. You'll take 5 innings for sure. And hopefully he took something from that drubbing last week and he brought it into today, and he can bring it into the rest of the season going forward.
Yeah, assuming just like in the rotation, in the power rankings, if you will, on the depth chart, he's your number 5 starter. He's a rookie, like you said, coming from single A ball to start the year. You'll take that kind of outings more nights than not. I just feel like beggars can't really be choosers, and you already know it's going to be a learning curve and a growing process for sure. Deshae Kirby sighting yesterday in Tampa, which it sounds like that was maybe a long time coming. He's looked the part down in St. Paul for a while. Any quick scouting report on him and maybe the blueprint, you think we'll see him over the next few weeks or so?
Yeah, good for him. Like you said, he's had 2 really solid seasons with AAA. I was a little surprised that he was left unprotected over the offseason from joining the 40-man roster. So he was exposed to another team grabbing him, but they made that gamble, and luckily they were able to keep him. He rewarded them with another really good year at AAA. And coming up here, he's a plus defender. He's going to be really good in center field if you need him out there. I think at this point, he's probably their best center fielder defensively that's currently on the roster. He'd be really good in the corners too, maybe a late game weapon who can steal a base or, be a pinch runner for somebody. I don't know if he's going to be an X factor for the team necessarily, but if he can perform how he did with St. Paul, he'll be a good piece to have as a 4th outfield, off the bench type of guy.
I like his vibe, man. Got the nose ring going, got rocking the sleeve out there. You saw the athleticism. He obviously didn't make that sprinting, running play out in the outfield, versus Tampa the other day. But you saw the athleticism. You saw the speed. I'm digging the aesthetics of what he's got going on. All right, Rocco report time. Game 1 versus Kansas City. The Rocco report. It says what?
Man, I'm really glad that he gave Willie Castro the night off. Unfortunately, it feels like the rest of the lineup was off too tonight, but I'm glad that Willie Castro was able to get some rest. He's a guy who's played like every single game this year, I want to say. If he's missed any, it's been quite few. He hasn't been the same guy since the All-Star break. Give him all the props in the world for getting his first career All-Star selection, and really a deserved one. He was about 23% better than league average hitter in the first half. now since the All-Star game, he's been about 23% below average. So he kind of just went from, the same standard of deviation there, just going the wrong way. He's hit a 211 since the All-Star break. He's really dealing with a sore back here, and they're going to need him down the stretch. Maybe he can be one of those guys who steps up, but he's not going to do it if he's really aching with this sore back. And they don't have much in the terms of calling somebody up to replace him if he were to go on the injured list. So we'll see what happens.
I don't want to age myself too much, but I grew up in that late 90s, early 2000s kind of MLB era. The fact that we are so high on, or just so impressed when a guy plays so many games in this, day and age, this era, it makes me think that Cal Ripken Ironman record, that'll never be broke, right?
No, never, ever. That one's unbeatable, I think. But you're talking about late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know. Guys were pretty beefy back then.
That's
they
true.
Had a little extra
all natural,
juice. I don't know.
All natural. Whey protein shakes, man. All natural. All right. Plenty more deep dive from this one. Plus, we got our nerdy set of the day. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships. Also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to the ultimate peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights. They got it all. And whether you're into speed, power, or style, they got you covered. 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back with all the parts you need at the prices you want. Easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Talked to Theo yesterday real quick about what 2025 Twins, like that version of the Twins, could look like. Just quick snapshot predictions. Let's start with the pitching stuff. Got to be encouraged, if you're a Twins fan, about the future of this pitching staff right now. And all the young guns, talked about Zebby a little bit already. What's the starting five next April, if you just had to guess? And who are the biggest wild cards of the group, like the Chris Paddocks, maybe the Louis Varlands, etc.? What's their roles look like? Just taking an educated guess from what you know.
I feel like if they're going with the best five starting pitchers that, we know they'll have club control over for next year, you're starting with Pablo, obviously, Bailey Ober, Joe Ryan. After that, Simeon Woods Richardson, I think, has earned a penciling in that kind of number 4, number 5 slot. And, the number 5 role could either go to maybe a veteran free agent, or if not, David Festa has looked awesome so far. And I do think that he's a long-term rotation piece. So if that's what they roll into with next season, I think you're really encouraged. I'm not sure what to make of Chris Paddock or Louis Varland at this point. They announced today that he's officially transitioning over to the bullpen for the rest of this season. Okay. Who knows if they'll try to do the same experiment next year of having him be rotation depth and then kind of transitioning over to a bullpen role, or who knows, maybe they've seen all they need to see this year from him in a starting role, and they can kind of pencil him in as that late inning option if all's going well, that guy who can touch 100 miles per hour with that absolutely killer cutter that we saw in the playoffs last season. So that would be awesome. I hope he shows up in a matter of days here. That would be an awesome boost for this beleaguered bullpen, so to speak. So I think that would be really fun. And beyond that, they do have even more pitching prospects that are on their way next year. Guys like Andrew Morris. There's a CJ Culpepper who's in, I think he just got promoted to Double-A to finish this year.
Not to be confused with the first rounder from this year, Culpepper from Kansas State. Okay. Oh, wow. A lot of optimism, man. A lot of optimism. Maybe the most optimism we've had just with a young core nucleus in the pitching rotation. We know Kepler won't be here. What's the outfield going to look like? Any chance we see Emmanuel Rodriguez at all next year? What's the kind of plan or blueprint for him? Is he kind of like the safety blanket for Byron Buxton, I guess, in center field? Or what's that blueprint look like, you think?
Yeah, I think it's likely that he'll be on the 2025 Minnesota Twins.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it'd be right out the gate.
Sure.
I think there's a non-zero chance he could be on this team this month at some point.
Wow.
I don't think they're going to want to rush him. I think
Yeah.
something would have to go wrong for him to get called up. But we've seen them kind of thrown into that position before with the 2020 playoffs, where they had Alex Kirilloff literally make his MLB debut in the postseason because some guys got hurt at the end of the season there. So if that happens this year and he's lighting it up for 2-3 weeks at AAA St. Paul, he's already on the 40-man roster. He's a left-handed hitter. They still want him to get some work because he hasn't, he missed 2 months there with the hand injury.
Right.
That could also be part of their benefit. How many guys do we see right now that are out of gas because they've played all season long and they're just kind of running out of gas near the finish line? Emmanuel Rodriguez might be fresh as a daisy after 2 months of being on the injured list. That might be a huge boost. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it's a certainty by any means, but they're one injury away from calling this guy up. I'm calling it.
Oh, dude, I love it. Not even really a super hottie take, I feel like, either.
Sure.
The Athletic just dropped their updated top 50 prospects. Twins with 2 guys on the list. Number 3rd prospect in all of baseball, Walker Jenkins, and the 22nd prospect in all of baseball, Emmanuel Rodriguez. So 2 studs waiting in the wings when the time is ready to plug in for the Twins. Last note on that updated list, by the way, talked about this yesterday. Tigers have the top 2 prospects in all baseball. Bang, bang. Number 1, number 2, Jackson Jobe, Max Clark. So that's kind of unreal. Twins have the number 3. Guardians have the 4 with this year's first overall pick, Travis Pizzana. So AL Central, though, man, the AL Central currently the top 4 prospects in all of baseball. That's just kind of crazy to think. Plus, the White Sox have the 7th ranked guy, Noah Schultz, big monster, 6'9" lefty pitcher. So 5 of the top 7 prospects, all of baseball, in the AL Central. That's kind of wild, is it not?
No, absolutely. They got all these top prospects. They got probably 3 teams going to the playoffs this year. I don't know. Maybe the AL Central is going to be the powerhouse. I think it all comes through the Midwest, baby. Let's see it.
Yeah, kind of resembling the NFC North perhaps this year, although we'll see how this Packers-Eagles game in Brazil shakes out here over the next 60 minutes. All right, nerdy stat of the daytime. You got some sort of crazy stat or fun analytic, Twins related? What do you got tonight? Lay it on us.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it fun necessarily, but like we talked about before, Royce Lewis, everybody's kind of hoping that he can turn the corner and get back to that guy that we know who comes in the clutch and has that serious pop in his bat. He had 15 home runs in his first 40 games of his career. He was electric. Since that time, he has just 1 home run in 22 games, and it was that one that just scraped over the wall. It was a clutch home run, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't crushed by any means. That stat comes from Nick Nelson at Twins Daily, who put up a really good point. We're waiting for that Royce of old to come back.
Yeah, and again, certainly can't come any sooner. Need the spark so desperately. Shout out Nick Nelson on Twitter. All right, don't go anywhere. We got to preview these wild card and playoff standings. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members to date. And for me and my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season still in full swing here. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code, all lowercase, Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, so as far as this, the rest of this Kansas City matchup goes, what's the scouting report? Biggest storylines? Bailey Ober Game 2, SWR Game 3. What's the things to look for when it comes to this head-to-head matchup?
Sure. So in Game 1 here, the Twins saw Cole Reagans for the Royals, and he by far their best starting pitcher, and they've been a team that has had some really good starting pitching. Okay. But he's the best starter I think that they're going to see in this series. So they got that behind him, which is a plus. Hopefully Bailey Ober can overcome his challenges that he had against the Royals earlier this year. He had 2 blow-ups against them. So hopefully this can be his kind of revenge game. And then, like you said, Simeon Wood-Richardson getting the other start. I think the Twins probably have the edge when it comes to the head-to-head starting pitching matchups. Mm-hmm. But if this offense doesn't show up, that becomes a moot point. So, like I said, I think we can kind of hope for them to kind of wake up. Maybe they find the bottom of that pool that they've been sinking in and push their way back up to the surface.
Well, it gives me a little optimism. We got their toughest pitcher out of the way. I was trying to pull up his stats before we jumped on. Felt like he got rocked in his last outing, so I was just going off a very small sample size. But that actually makes me feel a little bit better. I know this feels like a huge monster series right now, and it is because, obviously everybody's so close in the standings, but you take a quick peek around the American League right now. I know Boston's not doing great. Seattle's not doing great. So I know we don't know which teams are locked into, what seeds exactly, but can we at least say the teams themselves feel pretty locked in at this point with, 2.5, 3.5 weeks to go as far as which teams are getting in and which teams will likely miss the cut?
Yep, it's looking likely that the teams that are currently pegged for a playoff position will get one. The Twins, I think, at this very moment have a 5-game lead over Boston, who are really sinking so far. They've had a terrible second half. Like you said, Seattle, not necessarily a threat. Keep your eye on Detroit. They have actually had a couple pretty solid months kind of finding their footing a little bit. I'm not saying that they're going to push all the way past the Twins necessarily, and I think they would have to go for some crazy run. But then again, we've seen some things go pretty wrong the past couple of weeks, and if it keeps trending backwards, anything can happen. So, but I do think it's very likely, 90-95% positive that we know who the playoff teams are going to be in some order. Fashion.
Like, okay, we don't know exactly who's going to win the East. We don't even know who's going to win the Central. Twins going to end up as the 5 seed, the 6 seed. Can they pull the impossible off? Can they leapfrog Cleveland to the 2 seed, which knowing they Cleveland, that is, has the tiebreaker, really turns, a 4.5 game lead into a 5.5 game lead. And that for me, with 20-ish games left, it just feels like too much ground, at least with this version of the Twins lineup anyways in offense that we're getting. But Twins at the 5, maybe the 6 seed. That would mean you either go on the road to Baltimore, New York, or Houston. If that's how it plays out, just rank those teams in order from team you'd prefer to play first to team you want nothing to do with, and why.
Yeah, a Houston revenge series might be kind of fun. They're playing some really hot baseball. We're taking out the names, the legacy, everything like that, and just looking at the numbers and just looking at the records this year. Houston's pretty threatening. So it's a really tough call. Maybe I'd pick Baltimore just for a lack of exposure there. You're not going to find me picking the Yankees in the first round. I just have too many skeletons in my closet for that, I'm afraid. But it's going to be a challenge no matter what. I think that the Twins would be the underdogs in any of those 3 series there.
Yeah, if the season ended today, I believe, don't quote me, but I believe they would travel to New York to go play the Yankees, which, like you said, I don't know, man. Got to beat the best to be the best kind of thing. Go exercise those demons. But I'm with you, man. I think most Twins fans listening out there are probably with you too. Like, seriously, first round just doesn't feel great going in there, especially again with this version of the Minnesota Twins we've got in the last 5, 10, 15 games or so. All right, let's get out of here. Twins drop game 1, 5-0. Game 2 tomorrow. Bailey Ober on the mound. First pitch, 6:15 p.m. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game right here, breaking it all down. Got to go check out all of Lou's work on X at SweetLouMN+. All the work he's always ripping up over at ZoneCoverageMN.com as well. Go like this video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 8,000 subscribers. That's always much, much appreciated. All right, Sweet Lou, Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you next time, but until then, signing out.